Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 967 Roger's Adventure. Now, it looks like I'm only a day late this time, so it's the official chapter has been dropped. The official translation was dropped like yesterday, last night, or maybe Sunday night. It might have been dropped Sunday night. Actually, what day is it today? Oh my god. It's Tuesday. Yeah, so it might have been dropped Sunday night, and it's now Tuesday night. I had read the chapter earlier, but the original translation that I read on another questionable website was pretty. Like, I had no idea what the hell was being said, and I'm so glad that I read this chapter and didn't review that chapter, because if I'd reviewed the initial translation over the official translation, there would have been so many mistakes. So I'm so glad that we were able to review this one instead. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stick to the official translation, because the non-official ones, the illegal ones, tend to be a little bit. I mean, like before our boy Manga Stream and J Mini's Box decided to close up shop, they were defos the best. But this, I'm going to go by the official one from now on. So we start off. We're still with Roger. We're still with the crew who have now been joined by Odin. And we go straight to the Roger Pirates go straight to Water 7, where we see Shanks and Buggy arguing over something like the North Pole and the South Pole, possibly which one's colder, which one has ice or something like that. But we're told here that with the help of Ganfor, the god atop their clouds, and I can't remember, let me just check. I think Ganfor was the god that the god that we all know before Eneru got there, the old man with the beard, and he was riding the bird. That's the guy that helped Roger and company descend safely back to the sea below. So another nice call out, another nice blast to the past, and kind of, builds on that world building that we all love so much about One Piece. So we see Rayleigh here, a younger Rayleigh, smack the shit out of both Shanks and Buggy, telling them to shut up. And this is where Roger's surprised. He's talking to Odin and he's talking to Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. And he realizes that they also have poneglyphs on their islands too. But they have the red ones. They have the road poneglyphs, right? So he's there pissed off, saying, "Yo, that's the kind I really need to be looking at right now. I have a year to live, guys. Like, maybe you should have told me about that." So he's all pissed off, all that good stuff. And it turns out that Roger himself had actually got what's it called, a sketching or basically a road poneglyph sheet, the same thing that Brooke did. From Big Mom, so they're all, whenever they're going to Big Mom's place, whether it be Luffy, whether it be Roger, they seem to be stealing sketchings rather than actually, reading it directly. And I assume the reason why he read Big Mom, he stole a sketching from Big Mom's place, was because he didn't have Odin with him, or because she's actually quite a tough opponent. But for someone who in his prime should have been able to kick the shit out of anyone, it should have been alright for him. So I reckon he just didn't have Odin with him, so he stole the sketching. Anyway, he's really hyped. Roger's really hyped about where these 4 road poneglyphs, now that he's able to decipher them, where they're going to lead him, what's going to happen, So we meet the shipwright at Water 7, Tom, who's actually still designing the sea train at this point. He's there talking to Roger. This is all a blast from the past. We see a young Iceberg. We see a young Frankie. Frankie's pissed off that, he'd been abandoned by pirates, so he wasn't going to join Roger's crew. So it looks like Frankie actually had a chance to join Roger's crew. Imagine that. That's how old this guy is. And then you have Brooke, obviously, but Frankie's pretty old as well. Iceberg's just there wondering what the hell's going on. But this is Tom the shipwright. Roger loves him. So does Shanks. So does Buggy, because he built the ship that they're all sailing on. So they're all very familiar and stuff like that. It's nice to see. Then we go straight into this kind of compilation of Bink's sake being played over the trips and the journeys of the Roger Pirates. You see them crashing through the waves. You see Odin and Toki cradling, I think it might be Hiyori at that point. You see them running away from this giant elephant. It's all pretty cool, and they've eaten something. It looks awesome, and you see a young Momonosuke on top of Odin's head. And then we see, once again, another call out to something that we've seen recently, or, well, relatively recently compared to this flashback. Roger's ship is going beneath this bridge that's being built, and you see these people all wearing the same outfit, all wearing very similar outfits in the sense of it might be a prison outfit, or a prisoner's outfit. And they're pulling up all these blocks and stuff to build this bridge, and I think that might be, it looks very similar to the bridge that Robin was imprisoned on building as well. We go to Fishman Island, where Odin's like, yeah, I went here with what's his face, Whitebeard as well. And they go into the sea and all that good stuff. But it's here that we actually stay in this part of the flashback for a bit. So we see that part where Roger identifies that he, with his voice of all things thing, he hears one of these sea creatures, one of these what are they called? These kaiju kind of thing. He hears something from them, and he's like, yo, what am I hearing? Rayleigh can't hear it, but Odin can. So the two people who possess the voice of all things can hear something, and the fish down there are just like, yo, these guys can actually hear us. This is pretty cool. We see this kind of platoon of soldiers gather around Roger's ship, as well as this very large merman, and we find out that it's actually Neptune when he was a young knight. So rather than actually being king at that point, or even Roger I don't think knew at this point, that Neptune was actually king at this point. He'd only been in kingship for about 3 months, he says, or for a few months. But he hadn't been king before that. So Roger would have met him before he was a king, and he was just Neptune the knight, so just a badass guy underwater. So it turns out they actually were friends. But Neptune over here is very suspicious of the arrival of the Roger pirates. He's just like, so you guys are going to be the one to do it. Turns out that Shally had foretold that someone would come and blow a hole or something like that in the a hole in the gate of Fishman Island. Essentially, Roger's there saying, "Bro, we ain't gonna do shit like that. Like, what the hell? Why are you terrified of a little prophecy like that?" Straight away, as soon as he says that, someone blows a hole in the gates of Fishman Island. It turns out it's a Neptunian. I'm not sure what those are. Are those the giant fish? Are those just another variety of merfolk? I have no idea. Or fishmen? Who knows? But Neptune's surprised because apparently these Neptunians are meant to be docile, all that good stuff. But essentially, Roger and his crew are just like, "Yo, shit! Why are you looking at us so suspiciously?" And we had nothing to do with it. We couldn't have done anything because we were with you. We see a very, very young Shally who apparently could speak fluently at the age of 3. She says the Neptunians are restless because they're waiting for the mermaid princess to be born. So we see here the initial prophecy told about Shirahoshi. This is all linking back to the main story. It's so cool. So yeah, the people, townspeople are all just like, there's gonna be a mermaid princess. The king's just like, yo, dude, like, I haven't even gotten married yet. How could there be a mermaid princess? I've only taken the throne a few months ago. I don't even have a queen. All that type of stuff. So then they actually talk about the army, or so I think these are the people who joined the army. They're there talking to Neptune, saying, she's prophesied, Shally's prophesied the death of the late king, and you've taken over kingship. She was right about the mermaid Otohime and her political protest. So the fact that she's correct, and the fact that she's able to guess these very divisive things doesn't bode well for Neptune. But she seems to be spot on with the fact that they're waiting for a mermaid princess to be born. So Neptune then goes into the sea forest with Roger's pirates, and he's just like, all these prophecies have been riling up the country and all that stuff. And you see Scopper just saying, yo, I don't give no shits. We ain't here to catch up on no small talk. We're here for a reason. We then see the reason. Odin's there, and he's like, so there are 2 stones here, but one of these does not seem to be very important. So I think the one he deems important. So I'm not sure which one he actually deems. I assume the one he deems important is the one that's an apology from Joy Boy. Neptune's surprised at Odin being able to read all this stuff, but Odin's looking for the weapon that can. Where's the details about the weapon that can control the Neptunians? Okay, yeah, so control the giant sea fish. Yeah, so the giant sea fish. I forgot what they called it. There was a name for him, but the giant sea fish that Roger, Luffy, Odin, they can hear the voice of. Those creatures who Shirahoshi can control. We've seen that before as Poseidon, and that's the detail that Roger and his crew are looking for. So that's what Odin's looking for as a result of what the poneglyph on Sky Island said. So Neptune's there like, oh yeah, that little prophecy that Shally had delivered not long ago, it sent a shiver down my spine, mostly because she was speaking about a mermaid who could talk to Neptunians, and she said in a few years, she said if she was soon to be born, and they only come around once every century and stuff like that. But he's made the link that oh shit, she said that my daughter, the princess, is supposed to be born in a few years, and now she's saying that a mermaid princess will be born that will be able to control these Neptunians, control these kaiju, these giant ass fish, oh my god, the Sea Kings, that's the one. So maybe my daughter, and Roger clocks on as well. He's like, you're saying your daughter's going to be, the weapon Poseidon? She's going to be able to control these Sea Kings? Neptune's convinced. He's like, it's just a prophecy. Every power depends on how you use it. She might not turn out to be evil and all that good stuff. We see Roger talking to Charlie. He asks her, when's this mermaid princess going to be born? She says in 10 years. Roger knows he's going to be dead by that time. Neptune takes this the wrong way. Like, why are you so interested in my family matters? Why are you so interested in my daughter being born in 10 years from now? Do you really want to utilize Poseidon that much? And Rayleigh clarifies here, it's like, it's not the weapon that we're after, it's the people who wrote about the weapon. We want to know more about them. We want to know about the treasure they left behind. We want to know who they were, what they did, all that good stuff. So Roger makes a joke here. Let's not go into that. So that's Rayleigh kind of sums it up. We're not interested in the weapons. We're interested in the creators of the weapons and the designers of the weapons. What's their history? What did they do? What did they leave behind? And what's this vast treasure we've heard of? So we carry on going through Bing Sake. We see the island where lightning rains down. We see the kind of leaping waves. We see this other island with a poneglyph. Everyone jumps in this hot spring where they're all getting naked and shit like that. It's all well and good. And then we have Toki falling ill in the seas near Wano. Scopper says here, he's just like, Toki's original destination was supposed to be Wano. She's fallen ill. We're right next to Wano. She ought to disembark here. Let's get her off the ship. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi are like, dude, we'll take care of Toki. We'll let Kinemon and all those guys know. Don't worry about it. Odin says he's going to get off too, but Toki pretty much says to him, like, yo, bro, if you get the hell off this ship right now, we're getting a divorce. You're going to go all the way to the end with Roger. And it was around, like, from the beginning, to be fair, of the original translation. I read the slightly earlier than usual one. I had no idea what was going on. I understood this bit, but I had no idea what was going on for the rest of the chapter, especially when we get to Shanks and Buggy. We'll get to that. So, Kinemon, this part I was actually very... is a polarizing part for me. So, we see Kinemon, Kanjiro, Raizo, what's his name? Oh my god, the other mink, I think, Kawamatsu, and we see Okiku, and they're all there ready for Odin to arrive. They're like, yes, it's about time. In fact, all of Wano is, and they don't even get to finish their sentence before Toki says, if you truly care for Odin, let him go and stuff like that. And Odin's just like, I'm going to be leaving again for quite some time. And Kanjiro and Kinemon, everyone is pissed. They're just like, dude, why are you going to leave again? And you can see the state that Wano's in. And you see in his mind, what's his face? Odin's thinking, even as I turned my back on Wano, I knew that some ominous change was afoot. I could sense that if I turned back, I would never go to sea again. So his reasoning for not going to Wano, even though he can see these giant shafts, these giant pillars where smoke plumes out of the top, he can see all this, and he can see the poison in the air. He can see the beginnings of it. He can see that the mountains and the spires he'd once seen composed of rock now have these great factories established on top of them, and his face is darkened at the thought of them. And you're just like, Odin, you are the heir to the throne. You are pretty much the shogun in all but you're the shogun in all but name, essentially. Like, you should be inheriting the throne. You're just not taking it because you're too busy on your adventures. I understand why Odin wants to finish his journey. He made a promise to Roger. This is your last year alive. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to find out. And, it's a very big thing. We're going to find out what happened in the Void Century, all that good stuff. We're going to find out the history of the world. Though I'm not sure if they knew that was going to happen. All they knew was that they were going to get to the last island. But what they found out along the way, the history of the world, the meaning of D, Wano's origins and all that stuff, where the poneglyphs came from, what they mean, what their purpose is. He found out a great deal of things which are incredibly important to the history of One Piece and in this world in general. But he turned his back on Wano Kingdom, and that's the reason why Wano Kingdom is still ruled by Orochi, is governed by Kaido, and I'm not so sure if that was the right move to make. It's Odin's choice at the end of the day, and that's the story that Odin's going to tell. But I feel like Odin had a better decision he could have made there. Maybe staying in Wano, but he wouldn't have been able to, finish his journey with Roger, which was the promise he made. So I don't know, but he did kind of throw his country under the bus over here. So he says he took a quick copy of the poneglyph in Wano, then they went back to the ship. It was his first time home in 4 years, but he only spent like a few hours there. I love how Roger, when he gets back on the ship, he's like, scoundrel, which is the same thing that Kinemon and Kanjuro call him. Anyway, they then get to Zou. Odin's he's going through some strange behaviors because he can hear something, he can feel something. He's like, yo, what's going on? I'm not quite sure what's going on, because they're on Zunisha. The minks and all that go apeshit when they discover that Inuarashi and Nekomamushi are still alive. The Duke at that time was Duke Genghis Ban. I thought that was pretty funny because, he's a sheep Ban. I was like, yo, that's pretty funny. So they're all crying and shit. They thought that Inuarashi and Nekomamushi had died somehow. I'm not sure exactly what their story was. All we know is that they rolled up to Wano. Maybe it was a result of them trying to take a dinghy and get out of Zou. So all the Gachuing and stuff like that is going on. Odin's still unnerved. He's a little bit shaky. He's like, what the hell's going on? And Roger feels it as well. He's like, it feels like something huge is watching us. So at this point in time, it's not really something that they can hear. It's more like this sense of unease that something is watching them. And we don't actually know what it was, right? Because Luffy and Momonosuke were able to feel something very similar. And it's a very, very awesome parallel. The fact that Odin and Roger both could feel something, and it was Odin first. And then when we had Momonosuke and Luffy, it was Momonosuke who could feel something first, and Luffy then made mention like, yeah, actually I can feel something too. Something's weird here. And it's not that they could hear anything either. And I'm not sure whether it was, I haven't reread the Luffy the current timeline chapters, but I'm not sure if it's that they could feel Zunisha, they could feel Zou, or whether it's something else, something more ancient about the island that's unnerving them and that they feel is watching them. They come to the poneglyph, the final road poneglyph. They see the Kozuki crest there, so Odin's able to identify that, oh shit, the minks and the Kozuki, we did have this relationship in the past. Why have we not continued to honor it? We haven't. According to, he's never seen a mink in his life until Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. So why was that a thing? They should have been tied together as brothers. That's pretty much what he's thinking. We see Pedro here asking Roger whether he can join his journey, whether he can jump on his ship. Roger says, dude, you're on the waiting list. Everyone gets their time to shine. It's not your time to shine yet, but it will be eventually. And when it is, come around and help us. So Pedro's hyped up and all that good stuff. So Roger and his crew then go to this port town, I think, where they're just making their final preparations, because you see that in this panel here, you see someone coughing, hacking, and all that good stuff. And I think it's basically Roger pretty much near the end of his life, and he's just like pulling himself along by sheer willpower and by the benefit of what's his name, Crocus. So they're in this port town, and Roger's there clinging to life. He looks pretty good, to be fair. And they've found out, this is Scopogaban and the rest of the crew, they found out where the road poneglyphs, the 4 red poneglyphs, have pinpointed where the last island is. So they set sail immediately. And Odin says here, whether out of good fortune or bad, surely this has got to be bad fortune, right? The apprentice deckhand Buggyjiro, so that's just Buggy, he caught a sudden fever and he wasn't able to go to the final island. So he wasn't able to go to Laugh Tail. That's what it's called now. Raftel, Laugh Tail, So Buggy's there dying. You can see he definitely wants to go. You can see Crocus being like, you ain't going nowhere. And this was a very key part in the initial translation I read. In the initial translation I read, they made it sound like Shanks still went to the final island. He still went to Laugh Tail. But it says here, or Raftel. I'm not sure if the official Viz translation is screwing me over by, saying Laugh Tail, and whether I should continue to say Raftel as I have done for the last 23 years of my life. But the official translation is Laugh Tail. So, and it makes sense by the end of this chapter. But it says here that Red Taro, otherwise known as Shanks, chose to stay behind and care for Buggy. So Shanks, at that point, did not venture forth with the Roger Pirates to Laugh Tail. He didn't go to Raftel with them. He stayed behind with Buggy. And the dodgy translation said that Shanks actually went with the Roger Pirates and left behind Buggy. Saying that he would just go on their own ship one day. He does still say that, but it made it sound like Shanks was going to go there, come back, and then on his own ship take Buggy with him. That's not the case. Shanks at that point had not been to Laugh Tail. I can't say it. But he might have been in the meantime. You know, Shanks is a Yonko now in his own right, so he's probably been to Laugh Tale, though he also might not have been. Who knows? So we see everyone around the world either rejoicing or in shock at the fact that Roger and his pirate crew have finally done it. They've circumnavigated the globe. They've gone from one point of the Grand Line all the way around to the same point of the Grand Line from the opposite side. And he's the king of the seas, the king of the pirates. And here we get kind of a finishing monologue from Odin saying, on that day we learned the entire truth of the world. We learned what the 100-year void, what happened in that time. We learned who the people of Di are, what the ancient weapons are, Poseidon, all that good stuff. Mercury, is it Mercury and Uranus? Poseidon, Uranus, and was it Jupiter? I don't know. I've read freaking fairy tale as well. I think there might have been a Jupiter canon there, so I'm confused. He learned about the fact that in the past Wano was open to the world, and all that happened when Roger faced this vast treasure. They keep putting vast treasure in quotation marks, making me think that it's not actually a vast treasure. It's not tangible. It's not something like troves of gold and stuff like that. But he does say it in the face of that vast treasure, which was very real indeed. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the thing can't be viewed as treasure. I just don't think it's gold, jewelry, goblets and stuff like that. I think it might be a treasure of another sort. But once Roger and his pirates saw it, you see Roger just crying, laughing at what he's seen. He's just laughing there, open mouth and everything. He's just laughing. And so are his entire crew. You see Odin laughing, Rayleigh laughing, Scopper's on the floor, dying laughing, Crocus is laughing. They're all laughing until they're crying. And Roger here exclaims, "Oh joy boy, I wish I'd been born in your time. This is quite a treasure you've left behind. A tale full of laughs." So based off of that, they say, he says it's been 800 years since the last person touched this island, since the last feet made their way across these paths. Why don't we give this island a name? They call it Laugh Tale because of the tale of laughing that they've just gone through, because of what they've experienced and what Joy Boy supposedly had told them. So that's the end of the chapter. I'm confused as frick as to what this vast treasure could be on Raftel or Laugh Tale. And what story did Joy Boy tell? What was in this void century? What is the meaning of D? What is all of this history that's connected to the openness of Wano back then and then the isolationist nature of it now? How does that all result in them laughing their asses off once they found out the truth of all of the history behind One Piece, behind the world of One Piece? That's what I want to know. What would make them laugh? Like, surely when you'd found out all of that history, you'd be astounded. You'd be in awe. But these guys are laughing. There's something different to what they found out, and that's why they call it Laugh Tale. Or maybe it was just so. Maybe at the end of it, it was just such a beautiful tale that they just felt happy. I don't know, but that's the end of this chapter. I think we're on break next week, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be releasing my My Hero Academia review, so join me then. I'll see you guys in a bit.